Tum 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 tum.
Is that an internet in there?
Is there? Is there?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know. Are we as the kids say in the lives?
Are they looking at us?
I don't know. They might.
Can we see them?
I don't know about that one. That's a more difficult one.
Weird.
But yeah. So I think we can start this shindig.
Yeah, we can. Hello everybody and welcome to the live edition of GameTales, the show where we talk about a lot of things with the fire by our side and things, and all of the chat finally loaded so I can actually see you guys talking. Hello Kagi Marp and Module Ashen. Welcome to the live stream. Hi Stephen. Haven't seen you in a while, have you?
Hey Unicom, neither have I, and good morning, afternoon, not just to our listeners but to our viewers this time. And yeah, as we said, we finally managed to do it, and we are kind of sort of webcam live right now.
Yep, this is a first for us. We haven't done this kind of thing, like, I don't think we actually have. Well, we have done on the channel the live with webcam stuff in the past, but not in a talk show format.
No, no, this is more of a first for sort of both of us. We used to do this a long time ago in Romanian.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't webcam either. So
yeah.
This is new.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully the audio levels are all. See, this is why we do things pre-recorded, because I can cut stuff out. Hopefully the sound levels are okay.
You never do that.
No, I actually don't. I am too lazy to actually edit this stuff, because we usually end up with an hour or 2 hour show, and editing it is kind of annoying. Yeah, too much. It also takes like 3 hours to render.
Well, don't talk to me about that at this moment in time.
Shall we start with the sad news of the fate of your computer?
I don't know. Let's leave the. I was thinking we can leave the update of. What we're gonna do for next year a bit later on, because that's kind of part of it, sort of.
Yeah.
And I think we should start with at least a couple of the major game related news items that we most likely covered ever since we started this, which, by the way, we started in April.
Yep.
And yeah, let's go into the past.
So what do you want to talk about first?
I don't know. I like to keep things generally positive. So I don't know. I think one of the I think some of the most important news we've had actually happened in the past couple of months. Do we have anything that happened in like the first half of the year?
Positive things that happened in the first part of the year, or just
at least we're gonna go with at least, not totally horrible, like, announcements. So that was chiplets was a thing.
Well, yeah, chiplets is a big thing. So if people aren't aware, I'm gonna go on I'm gonna try and find a picture of a chiplet to put on the screen while I start talking about chiplets.
Chiplets, and before that it was the RTX, right?
Yeah, RTX, which is
like one of the major announcements of this year.
Let's load this up here. Open in background tab. Oh, that's the wrong picture. Open image. Okay, that's the right one. Now let's see if I can actually fit it in here. Save the image. This takes a lot more. Oh, that shouldn't have popped up there.
Hey, it's the first time we live stream, so expect the occasional blah.
Yeah. So let's add an image. Browse. There it is. Okay, it's gigantic. I'm going to scale it down. Okay, so this, what you're seeing now on the background, this is an AMD processor from the EPIC series, the new EPIC Rome series. It's a CPU that's made of chiplets, so you may see that there's little things like there, like there's a big thing in the middle, and then there's like 4 sets of 2 things on the sides. The sets of 2 things on the sides, those are the chiplets. Those things contain the actual computing part of a processor, the brain, the actual thing that makes the thing go, if you will. And because they're so small and they just have that little bit there, they're really easy to make. Like, super easy compared to making a giant CPU that has all of them just stitched together normally. Now, this is a more effective way of making a CPU, and AMD got some flack for making stuff like this with the previous Zen architecture with Ryzen CPUs. It got it from Intel because they said that the CPUs are just the cores are just glued onto the CPU, and well, Intel announced like last week that it's doing the same thing, the exact same thing. Intel is using chiplets now. Chiplets are the future, people. Everybody's doing chiplets. And I fully expect this to be the next design for GPUs as well. There was, I think last year was the proposal from NVIDIA to make like a similar type of GPU with smaller GPU dies just linked together, a sort of mesh network. That was heralded as the death of the monolithic GPU. It hasn't come yet, but 2-3 years, who knows? But this is the future, people. Get excited. Get hyped. Don't play with GPUs.
Well, definitely, it's interesting. Just in as far as we used to talk. We talked a couple of episodes ago about the fact that there is only so much more miniaturizing that they can do with the technology. So they kind of need to look for other avenues of either improving efficiency or just completely different types of architectural approach to how they build the damn things. Mm-hmm. So this is interesting. This is interesting to see what. Do you think do you think the second generation Ryzen will be chiplety?
Yeah, because the thing we're seeing now, this is the. This is based on Zen 2. The Rome series is based on Zen 2. And okay. Since Ryzen 3000, which is the second generation technically of Ryzen chips. Well,
it's that's kind of a confusing...
Yeah. Ryzen 2000 was still first generation technically.
Yeah.
3000 is going to be second gen, and it may very well have that design. There were some rumors, like really, really sketchy rumors, that the next generation will bring us like 16 cores on desktop, like for AM4. Like you can just plug in a 16 core CPU onto a motherboard.
Well, apparently the motherboard technically, at this point in time I might actually have two valid AM4 motherboards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and those CPUs may reach speeds of up to 5 gigahertz. But again, the rumor is quite sketchy. I'm not entirely confident that it's true, but we should have something similar to that. That would be the best, most awesome case scenario, the Intel is in trouble scenario, if you will.
While the AMD versions will definitely be cheaper, that's for certain.
I mean, if it weren't for AMD for the Ryzens, we would still have like $1,000 for Intel CPUs.
I mean, even with the current situation of my desktop, which has been dead for like 3 months, if I really couldn't even have enjoyed it as much as I did for the rest of the year, because I couldn't have afforded anywhere close to that level of gigahertz of speed for that amount of money. Although, and this is kind of linked to my issues, it might actually be down to the processor. My Ryzen 5 might actually be the big problem that I've been having with my desktop for the past 3 months or so.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, especially because, as you said, in your country there is no AMD. There's just Intel, so you can really test
Oh.
things out.
Apparently, yeah. And so I live in Denmark. I've been living here for 4 years and something. And once I was done doing the amount of troubleshooting, hardware troubleshooting that I could do, basically testing as much as I could do, I was out of parts. I couldn't. I don't have. I didn't have back then an extra motherboard. Kind of do now, and I definitely didn't have another processor. So I took it to a shop and I explained what the problem was, and they were like, "Oh, we'll let you know in a couple of days." And a couple of days pass, and there's no one lets me know anything, which is very un-Danish like. So I wait like another week, nothing. So I'm like, I don't know what maybe they forgot, maybe I don't know. So I straight up go there because I got this thing. I just don't like using phones, except for emergencies. So I go there to talk to them, and they're like, yeah, we couldn't help because they said it's a really rare CPU. And I'm like, what? It's an AMD. I'm like, don't you have any sort of AMD CPUs? No, only Intel. Okay, and I don't know, maybe there are other shops that maybe do work with AMD, but you would think all of them, if you have a PC repair shop. Anyway. So yeah, right now, but the guys there suggested that it's most likely the motherboard.
It turns out it may not be the motherboard.
Yeah, it turns now after purchasing a different motherboard, it turns out it might not actually be the motherboard. It might actually be the Ryzen, because I did find some other cases, like one or two other cases that have very similar symptoms to mine, not identical. Their configurations can actually function maybe for like sometimes a day or two, but they always go back into BSOD freezy chain of nastiness. Mine is just faster, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I hopefully can get a replacement for the processor, which was I trust is still in warranty.
Well, I think it may be. I mean, CPUs don't generally die. I mean, I have a Pentium D somewhere around here that still works. I wish it would die, just so I could have the satisfaction of seeing it die. But it still works. And
yeah, I guess this is why these guys also suggested it's most likely the motherboard, because statistically speaking, most likely would be the motherboard. But now I have a new motherboard and it's the same fucking shit.
Yep.
So I'm actually gonna I'm back to using the laptop. I'm resigned to using the laptop for the next couple of future. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna have to modify my stuff. I'm gonna keep doing like short videos because I can't really risk the laptop crapping on me either, because I still need it for school and stuff. Jacques Lewis, no, AMD GPUs aren't noisy. They haven't been noisy.
They're quite silent. You can if you're using especially one of those that has a custom design, not the just a blower design that the default ones use, they are quite well suited to silent environments. I barely hear mine, and I play games with the high details on it constantly.
So I have a Ryzen 5 1600, the one that comes with the included cooler, the Wraith cooler. There is nothing. It's totally not noisy. The temperature works. Temperature is fine. But the idea is some other thing that happened, which is like really fucking weird, is that so when I took everything apart to replace the motherboard, my cooler and the heatsink, everything stuck to the CPU because of the thermal paste. Which, again, something I never really knew could happen.
Oh, it does happen in very, very dangerous cases.
Apparently, it did happen here. So I'm thinking maybe something happened and the fucking thing overheated once and then it just started going nuts. I don't know. I never had temperature problems with the CPU Yes, I am. I was extremely upset 2 days ago when I started testing the motherboard and it didn't work. I'm still am, but I'm trying to work through it and just recalibrate and rearrange my plans because I was hoping I would get it fixed, have a desktop, and restart playing stuff like more advanced stuff, but that's
Like a
not gonna
Duck
happen.
XCOM, for example.
Like precisely Duck XCOM.
Do you want to talk a bit about Duck XCOM?
Well, actually, you should talk more about Dark XCOM because I haven't played it yet. I only watched you play it. So, but that would be one of the highlights, one of the main
Yeah.
things that, one of the cooler games that came out this year.
So Ducks is the name of the duck. So it's like the plural of duck.
Yeah, DUX.
Yeah.
That's his name. That's the duck's name.
So it would be Duckscom if we were to name it properly.
Yeah.
The full name of the game is Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden XX Midnight Carnival The Revenge Part 2 Street Fighter X versus Capcom. That's the full name of it, I think.
You have a couple of extra things.
No. I'm sure that they're part of it because the name of it is kind of like, it's based on a tabletop RPG that has sort of settings and different ideas to it. It's set in post-apocalyptic Sweden. It's the second game I've played, the second turn-based tactics game I've played, set in post-apocalyptic Sweden. The second one. I don't know. I didn't know that this setting was so popular. Have you?
I don't know.
I'm curious. Have you played any? Are there more than 2 out there? There may be more.
Can't really tell you about that one. Although there is this show, it's a Danish show called The Rain on Netflix, which isn't very good, but it is post-apocalyptic and it kind of takes place. It takes place mostly in Denmark, but apparently there's some of Sweden is also
So it's
covered.
spreading.
Maybe I don't know. It's quite a big country, I guess. There's a lot of mountains in Sweden as well. It's like really rough terrain, so it makes an apocalypse more livable through, because you can always retreat to the mountains. Whatever apocalypse you're talking about, retreating to the mountains is a good solution, unless the mountains were hit by the meteorite that causes the apocalypse to begin with,
And then it's a
or
volcano.
or nuclear rocket. If it's diseases, you go to the mountains because there's less people there. If it's zombies, you go to the mountains because they have to climb up a slope and then they'll freeze. Do we have any other apocalypse? Okay, yeah, we have the general atom war, which again depends. You can, if you have a nice cave in the mountains, that can save you. So I think we got this. But the only one we don't have is the one that will most likely happen. But that one might still save you if you go into the mountains. I don't know. You do need to learn how to trap and hunt, though.
Yeah. And how to climb mountains. It's very important.
Yeah.
So Duck XCOM or Mutant Year Zero, very long name attached, has...
Electric Boogaloo.
Well, actually, I think that maybe, like I said, it's based on tabletop, and there are many games, many modules to it. And I think another one of them is maybe being made into a game. I saw a Kickstarter for something. I'm not sure if it's a video game or an extension of the tabletop. But Duck XCOM has some really neat ideas to it. One of my favorite ones being that it doesn't screw you with the percentages for hit. You have 0, 25, 75, and 100. Nothing else. And it tells you exactly the reasons for why you may have a bigger or smaller chance when you hit something. It doesn't obfuscate things, and it doesn't lie to you about chances, which is something that the new XCOM series does a lot, because that's what the developers wanted to give you a better sense of satisfaction when you hit that 60% hit chance, when it actually was like 80% by the game's own calculations, but they fudged it to be a bit more epic.
Yeah, that's always something dubious when it comes to. I mean, this has been done for a long time. like if you've ever played any sort of game with a health bar, and for whatever reason that last little bit of health seemed to get you through longer than it should have, it most likely did, because that's how the game was actually designed, for that little bit of health to actually last longer than visually you would think it does. But when it comes to something as clear cut as percentages, that's just crap. It's just, especially when you come from when you've at least when you've also played a fair bit of tabletop RPGs, which both of us have, and we know how crucial roles actually are and percentages. That's just that's kind of not that's just bad form, at least as far as I'm concerned. As much as I like XCOM, that's kind of not cool.
I wish that XCOM would just show you the dice roll, which is something that you do see in a lot of RPGs, like in Divinity Original Sin or in Baldur's Gate and all those games. You would see the dice roll. You would know exactly what happened. There was no mysticism.
But that's that's it depends. It depends, at least very on the audience, on the type of things that the audience is used to. So, for instance, Divinity Original Sin, by default, through its own marketing and whatnot, it wasn't gonna be played by the casual RPGer.
Yeah,
as not a casual RPGer type of game. Whilst XCOM can be played by a casual turn-based tactics person.
Yeah, because the improvements they've done to it to make it more playable than the old ones are great. Like, it's a lot more playable than the old ones were. In terms of interface, in terms of control, it's great. But they fudged the numbers so much, and the line of sight problems are still there. They don't really fix much with the expansion in with the second game and its expansion in terms of the basic rule set. But they've just added so much in the XCOM 2 and in the expansion that they sort of mitigated the bullshitness of the basic problems of the game. Because what does it matter now that you don't have proper line of sight calculations when you can fire a railgun that shoots through half the map and kills everything in its way? It just leaves a hole in the map. Fix your problem with that.
That is an interesting approach to fixing in-game problems with in-game mechanics.
So far, like I said, I didn't run into any of those problems in Duck XCOM. It is kind of a different game compared to XCOM, because it does take place in real time. So in that way, it resembles, I would guess, Wasteland a bit more, because you can set up your characters before a combat, and actually it's a bit better in terms of combat than Wasteland 2 is, because when combat actually starts, you can choose to not participate with all your characters. There is such a thing as stealth. You can position them, and the enemies, they have like a range, a circle around them where they can detect you, and that's not sight based, so they can see you behind cover, behind big obstacles even sometimes. I think it's sort of their hearing as well modeled in that circle. And I guess I'm okay with that, though there were some games in the olden days that would actually model sound like accurately. They would show you sound waves as they propagated, so it would be clear.
I think I'm not sure, but I think Jagged they did that for Jagged Alliance too.
I believe so. I believe they did it for Jagged Alliance. I know they did it for Star Trek Away Team.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember they actually had a mechanic about it.
Yeah.
They showed the sound,
Yep.
The sound waves. Yeah, but I think I'm pretty sure for Jagged Alliance 2, they definitely recorded sounds of the actual weapons that they were in the game. I know that for sure. But I think they might have modeled the echoes pretty well as well, or at least they paid attention to that, because whenever you would shoot guns, people would be coming quite quickly to your location, depending on how noisy the gun was actually. But that's so Duck XCOM is. I'm actually at this point in time, I'm gonna have to try to see if I can run it on my laptop. Maybe I can run it on like low.
Well,
on low,
Yeah,
basically.
I think it can work. If I remember right, I may have actually run it while Rainbow Six Siege was stuck running in the background, eating 30% of CPU because it didn't close down properly, and the game was still running, and I could still record from it. So it probably won't kill your system.
My laptop
Probably.
is can if I well, I managed to play. I could play Divinity Original Sin 1 on it without that much of an issue.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
Maybe.
They're kind of at the same level in terms of graphics if you turn off like the settings down.
Yeah, I'll obviously put it to low and probably modify resolution as well. The problem with that is when I want to record gameplay, because if the game's too new,
Yeah.
then I can't really record gameplay, and if the detail level, the graphic level is too low, then it just doesn't reflect the true nature of the game. So I don't feel great about doing that.
One thing
But
I'm actually
I'll check it out.
don't like about the game is that it doesn't let you zoom in when you're out of combat. The game looks nice, like from the vantage point that you have, it looks superb with all the foliage. It looks magnificent, but you can't zoom in to look at the duck. Like the duck has some duct tape on its bill because it has a broken bill, and you can't zoom in on
Okay.
that.
Or maybe they'll put that in later, or
I hope so.
maybe,
I told
or
them to
maybe
do it.
there's, or maybe maybe they're gonna have like just like
A free
a
camera.
feature, yeah, where you can see the models and whatnot. Maybe when you outfit them or something.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
do have that in the inventory, thankfully.
So there's something close to that. If they haven't implemented it in generally when you play, then usually there is a reason behind that in terms of processing power, efficiency, that sort of
Yeah, I
stuff.
think maybe because of a rendering thing, because depending on where you look, some bits of the terrain may not be rendering properly. Like that thing was visible in the play now I made as well, where a piece of the mountain was just sort of fading in and out depending on where I moved the camera, like very slightly, while it was still in frame.
Yo. But let's move on to let's move from Duck XCOM. So RTX. I remember you. No, give me a second. So I remember you towards the beginning / of the year, you being very hyped about ray tracing, and I think you've actually mentioned the technology in years past as well.
Yep.
But I remember you being very excited about it. And I know you still are in the sense of the technology's potential. But what we have at the moment, it's like, wow. So why don't you give us like a very quick a Cliff Notes version of how ray tracing is supposed to work as opposed to traditional rendering, and why it sucks right now?
Well, ray tracing is supposed to work by beaming basically a line from the camera to a point, any point in the world, and having that point reflect realistically to pretty much where the light that would light it up would come from, and it would keep bouncing and bouncing around until it creates the scene instead of the light that we have now in video games that is baked in, that is always going to be sort of the same. Even with global illumination, there's still not realism, if you would call it that. But with ray tracing, you could get that. You could get a level of detail in the way that the lights behave, the shadows move, the everything behaves, reflections, refractions. You would get realism. A level of realism that makes even the worst looking video game, Quake 2 ray traced, looks like it's somebody animated the thing out of claymation. It looks real. It looks like it's real, claymation real, because the textures still look like they're made in '96. And sadly, ray tracing is a very, very costly process in terms of computing, to the point where the earlier attempts at making it in real time looked kind of like crap. They focused mostly on just one thing, like reflections, which is what they did with the Wolfenstein from 2009. The demonstration they had back then looked kind of horrible, but the reflections were real time and they looked okay. The rest of the game didn't even have shadows. That's how expensive it was in terms of computing cost. And now we actually have the hardware built into GPUs that is capable of handling that. Capable of handling that, because it doesn't really do it well currently. It does it sort of well. It mostly still cheats. It still uses like screen space reflections that reflect something that you're already seeing on the screen. And it combines that with the ray tracing a bit to give you the illusion that you're actually seeing the reflection. But if you still like, for example, if you're seeing a mountain reflected in the water that's below it, if you look down, so you don't see the mountain in your screen anymore, bits of the mountain may disappear, even though it's supposed to still be there in the reflection. That still happens even in Battlefield 5. Especially since they added the patch that sort of optimizes ray tracing, because even with the 2080 Ti, the most powerful video card on the market that costs over $1,000, it still has a very big performance impact. It goes like from like 150 frames a second to 70 at best. They've improved it considerably since the release. It can run at over 60 frames a second now with ray tracing on $1,000 video card. But that's just with reflections, and not even reflections everywhere, just reflections in some areas. If you add shadows to that, if you add refractions to that, if you had if you had light scattering from solid objects to that, I mean from objects that are not transparent or reflective, the performance impact may make the game unplayable basically. So we currently have we still only have one game that uses RTX. One, Battlefield 5. And it's a multiplayer game where you spend most of your time running around and being shot by people and dying. You don't really have time to take in the scenery. It's supposed to be implemented soon in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where it will handle shadows by coincidence. And it's supposed to come into a lot of different games sometime before the apocalypse. Hopefully.
You mean the actual apocalypse, not the Tomb Raider apocalypse?
No.
Yeah.
I think maybe the next one though.
So we'll see. But yeah, it's a very good condensation of RTX. Well, maybe it's certainly whenever we get new technology, any sort of
the first generation will be horrible.
Yeah. I don't want to say revolutionary, but definitely not evolutionary. This is a different. It's a completely different approach to rendering. So whenever that happens, the first generation is usually really bad, really costly, really everything, because they just need to iron out all the bugs. Hopefully maybe next year.
Yeah, it would probably help if Nvidia had done a better job of presenting it, especially at their own event on stage, where Jensen, the CEO of the company, would just say constantly, like, I think there's a clip out there with how many times he says, "It just works, it just works, it just works, it just works."
It became a meme.
He didn't really present the technology and how it worked really all that well. And the comparisons they used to show were with the RTX on, with the simple primitives they use with shapes and things to show the concept, not the game, just like squares and spheres and how they work with RTX on. And the non-RTX version would be the most like simplistic, not even no attempt made to actually try and mimic light propagation. Like it was just a static light and nothing.
Maybe it's like he was it just works. Like are you familiar with the EM drive?
Electromagnetic drive.
It's basically it's more of a, so basically the EM drive is a type of engine that scientists don't really understand how it works, because it's from what they know and what they can observe, it shouldn't work, but it kind of does work. So it's something with ions and various maybe changing the pressure of
it ionizes air around it, and that's how it goes
somehow. But it's not an ion drive. This is a slightly different thing. So maybe it just works like that, and like oh shit, it just happens.
It'll probably help, like you said, the next generation maybe a bit better. Especially
Yeah, hopefully it is.
if Intel starts implementing it as well, because Intel next year is going to have video cards, like dedicated video cards. We're going to see the first model presented next year, maybe even at CES next month. So there's that to
Well,
look forward to.
that would be something useful presented at CES for a change.
Oh,
So
you may also get a more affordable RTX card in the form of the 2060. Maybe, we don't know.
that's like affordable with like the heavy,
Yeah.
the biggest air quotes in the world.
Yeah, you currently have like a 1060, right?
Yeah,
So
3 gigabyte 1060.
the price in theory should be around the same, but it's not gonna be. It's gonna be like $50 or $100 more, because this series has been $50 to $100 more than the previous one. But we also, a rumor popped up yesterday. We may also get a new variant of the 1060, if you will. That doesn't have RTX, and it's called either the 1160 or the 1660.
I think, are they trying to make the Anno series now and like video cards?
I think so.
Because it kind of sounds like the Anno series, which, by the way, they should be releasing 18.
Yeah, it's in February.
Okay, so they are gonna do that. Okay.
Yeah. And Anno, by the way, the first Anno game is free right now on Uplay, so you should go play it, even if it's on Uplay. It's free.
For our I reviewed 1701. It's on my channel. If any of our viewers,
And it's cheap on GOG right now.
Wanna check that out? Yeah, there's a lot of affordable / cheap cool stuff on GOG right now. I don't know. I haven't had time to look through the Steam Winter Sale Cottage. Weird.
It just kicked off. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one just kicked off. But unless you're an achi whore, which I kinda am, because I love achievements, maybe it would be a slightly better idea to patronize GOG, thanks to their DRM free policy, and also keep in mind to use the Gaming HD link,
which is probably in the Discord server somewhere.
Hopefully, if Raul is actually listening, he will be quick enough and pop a link in the chat, Raul.
I can actually do that because I've got you on Discord, so I'm gonna have to switch from you to. Well, we'll let Raul deal with it. Yeah,
it's fine. Hopefully, if he listens.
And speaking of GOG, they launched this year the FCK DRM campaign, in which they would like to remind people that fuck DRM. It's a horrible thing.
Yes, and also fuck liver puzzles.
Yeah,
that's an older video. That's an older video, which I still enjoy. It was one of those things when I usually don't. You don't either, but you kind of tend to go on diatribes occasionally. But I don't rage that much about games because it's entertainment. Fuck it, or movies for that matter. But that video, the fuck liver puzzles video on my channel, I did once I released that. That was cathartic. Once I made it and then released it, I was like like a weight, literally a weight was taken off of me.
The curse is lifted.
Yes, I was like, whoa. See, this is why therapy helps people.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to people about the shit that annoys you helps,
even if it's on the internet,
even if no one's seen it. I have 300 views on it, and it's been there for a year.
Yeah, it's like Twitter. Just type something in there and nobody will see it.
Yeah, well, no, a couple of people did. A couple of people actually did see it, and for the first time ever, someone I don't know posted it to Reddit. The reaction on Reddit, you can imagine the reaction on Reddit. But just as it was nice. It formed a connection with another smaller channel, so that was fun.
A kindred spirit that is annoyed by liver puzzles.
Yes, pretty much. Because my point was, first of all, don't have liver puzzles. But if for some whatever reason you need one, or you want to have one in there, like an homage, like a tribute, at least make it make sense.
Yeah.
Make the levers have an actual role something that's logical, something that's reasonable in the fucking game, Skyrim. Yeah.
Well, at least
Anyways,
it's not missed.
yeah. So well, that's.
Speaking of missed, I discovered something recently. About 4 years ago, there were rumors of a missed game, a missed movie being developed, and since I was doing the news back then, I made a fake trailer for it, in which I just sort of had a voiceover of "in a world where you're alone on the island" and something, and on the background is just me like throwing a switch, and looking at the camera confused, and doing that for like 30 seconds, and saying, "I have no idea what this does." It was just that. And turns out I actually plagiarized that from a comic made by Penny Arcade like 8 years ago. I had no idea that it is the exact same joke, told in the exact same way with the exact same framing. I don't know how I managed it.
It's like, the inspiration. You never know. You never know where cross-pollination happens.
And then it just made me go back and watch my own shows. Man, they were funnier than I remember. Probably because I forgot what I did in them mostly. It was like seeing them again for the first time.
So yeah, GOG, patronize GOG via the Gaming HD, or if you're interested in in going for the Humble Bundle store stuff, my latest video about Forager has a nice link in there. So if you want to get a Humble Bundle monthly subscription, try to use that link. Give me a couple of monies.
So speaking of Forager, try to sell these people on the idea of Forager. Go for it.
I don't know. From what I understand, Forager is a combination of Terraria and Don't Starve, or something like Don't Starve together, maybe with some Stardew Valley thrown in. I haven't played any of those titles, but I really dig Forager. And to be honest, the comments I've been getting on the video, and I've actually been getting comments on the video, are actually very positive. People kind of actually really want to play the game. So I don't know what to tell you. I really enjoy the constant resource gathering and discovery and exploration and building stuff. You can plant stuff. I like it, man. I don't know what to tell you.
You should really play Minecraft.
No, I really shouldn't, because that's just the thing. Whenever I'd see gameplay footage of Minecraft, Stardew Valley, even Terraria, that never really spoke to me on any sort of level. But when I saw stuff from Forager, I was like, oh, kind of like how this thing looks.
It's the art style that gets to you. Is the aesthetic, or what exactly attracts you to it more than the other games?
I guess I think it's the very it has a cartoony sort of pixel art approach to it, which I really dig. But you still understand what things are, so it's not very stylized. It is stylized, but it's not abstract. So I don't know. I really like it. And if anyone's interested in those sorts of games, they can check out my video. It's like really quick. It's like a 3.5-minute video, because again, that 3.5-minute video took my laptop like 20 minutes to render. So yeah, that's why I'm gonna keep to shorter videos of this sort up until I maybe sort of can fix my desktop. I don't know. Can we not talk about my desktop anymore?
Okay. We'll not talk about your desktop, but
yes, please.
If you would like to play something other than Forager with a similar idea, go now on to the Epic Store, and you can get Subnautica for free.
I should be getting, but can I run it on my laptop?
Well,
see, that's the issue here.
I think you may be able. I'm not exactly sure how much memory or what kind of GPU your laptop has, but it's not a very demanding game if you run it on the lowest settings. I think you
I don't know, man.
Spend most of your time underwater.
I'll give it a shot, maybe. I'll see about that.
Maybe 10 frames a second in 720p, it'll still work.
We'll see about that. I don't know. I do have a bunch of. I do have a lot of. I play mostly indie games, so I do have quite a bit of indie games that will run on my laptop without that much of an issue, to be honest. Who's drinking? Yes, they are. I wasn't actually drinking schnapps, by the way, Jacques. I was drinking close. It's Record the League. It's premium Swedish cider. So close enough. Not really schnapps. I am actually considering getting some Romanian country-made wine, which I have. I am considering getting some of that right now, but it's not nice leaving the video with me speaking. So Unagam, take it away.
Well, I've got some pills here. There's your meme for today.
That's even better.
Yeah. So well, yeah, well, we're talking about Subnautica.
Yeah, with Subnautica, yeah, but no, I would like you to let's turn it back a bit to GOG.
Okay.
I'm gonna go pour myself a glass of wine. You start talking about the fact that there's gonna be actual competition on the digital distribution platforms for gaming, and I'll be right back.
Okay, but first, Demon Slayer, there is music. I'm gonna turn it up a bit more so you can hear it. See, there's music. I'm just gonna turn it right back down because I actually want to be able to be heard and for us to be heard. So, competition. Discord, as you may know, if you're on our Discord server, you're using Discord, and Discord has its own store. They have games on there, and they're giving 90% of the revenue to the game developers. So that's good for them. They're getting more money. And now Epic has a game store that sells kind of exclusive games. No, Bismarck, I don't think you're going crazy. I think Demon Slayer may be trying to gaslight us and make us believe there's no music out there. Everything is a lie, just an abstraction. Everything is false. He may be working for the government. Who knows? We'll see. Or yeah, we could be going crazy. So Epic Game Store is currently well, it has a bunch of video games on it that are they're not big names, but some of them are becoming exclusive names to the Epic Game Store, and they are getting a lot of money for that sort of unimposed exclusivity. They get like 88% revenue, which is a whole lot more than Steam gets. But what it doesn't get you seems to be direct support from the developers, at least not yet. They people that got Subnautica for free off Epic are turning towards the Steam forums for support, which is a fun thing to see. But that should be fixed as time goes on, as they implement their own like pages for their own games, so they'll be able to properly show support to the people that got the game. The thing that kind of confuses me right now is that I'm seeing Steven come and go on both the stream and the recording. So it's like you walked out of frame on the recording and you stood in the frame on the live stream.
Ah, okay.
It's a funny.
I'm back now. I'm back with various liquids.
Yeah. So what's your take on the Epic Store thing?
Epic Store. Well, the Epic Store is interesting because right before that, we had that piece of news that Steam was gonna change their revenue, shares for the games that sell over 10 million and 50 million. And for us, you who follow the news even more carefully than I do, it was a bit odd.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. We thought initially that, okay, maybe they're trying to court Ubisoft and Activision to get them to move their games back here a bit more.
Or Bethesda, because they had just released the hot dumpster fire that Fallout 76 proved to be without using Steam. And that was kind of odd. And then, like, less than a week after, or
a couple of days,
around there, a couple of days, we get news that Epic is launching their own store. And we were like, okay, so that's why they knew, they obviously had to know this was coming. So the Epic Store is solid. It's gonna give 88% to all the devs that they will work with. At the moment, it's super small. Obviously, nothing. It can just Steam. Just when Steam started, it was small as well. So you can't really expect it to have anywhere close to that size.
Yeah, and I don't think
But
they're gonna let the floodgates open like Steam did with
oh
the...
no, that's not gonna happen, because now they've seen what that has done to Steam, and if they're smart, and hopefully they are, they will keep it. They will actually keep it humanly curated,
Oh yeah.
which would be a great selling point from that perspective. And they do have a couple of sort of exclusives. Hades, the new Supergiant game, which looks fucking great. I haven't yet seen the no clip first episode of the documentary, but I will watch it. They're gonna make like a series of documentaries as the game is in early access and they develop it. That's gonna be interesting to watch. Um, there's Hades. They're gonna give a free game every 2 weeks, I think, and the first one being Subnautica.
And you get to keep the game forever.
And you get to keep the game, yeah. So that's because it's DRM free.
Well, it's not DRM free, but the store itself doesn't have DRM.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool, and it was great. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air that was then followed by a further breath of fresh air from Discord, which again I really wasn't expecting that one either. I mean, the Epic announcement was okay, maybe not necessarily epic, but it was pretty big. But then Discord basically doubled down on what Epic just did. They offering what 90/10.
Yep.
So they 90% of the money that the customers play for games will go to the developers. They're just gonna keep the 10%. And Discord's store has been online for slightly longer than Epic's, but it was also released in like demo early access, sort of soft opening earlier this year. I don't know. You told me when, but it hasn't been for long.
I'm not exactly sure when it was.
But you said it was like earlier this year, so it wasn't. It's still a small thing.
I think it was maybe August.
Yeah, well, kind of like that, August or September, I think you said. So right now we have two new digital distribution platforms for games, which both of them offer a much higher amount of revenue to the developers that choose to work with them. Granted, they are still very small when compared to Steam.
Yeah, in terms of in terms of store size, but in terms of the actual audience that they can tap into, they are way beyond Steam. Like Steam has like also 20 million accounts or something, and these guys have millions, hundreds of millions.
And also Steam's ever since, well, it's not like Greenlight was awesome, but it did at least it required some sort of an entry cost. It was an entry barrier.
And it also required the people to vote on it. And Greenlight was a response to manual curation failing, because you had games like what was it? Unepic. Unepic was an amazing roguelike game, 2D comedy thing. It was an amazing game. It kept getting refused by Steam, and they never told them why. That's why they made Greenlight, so the burden of verifying the games will no longer be on Steam itself, because it gets too many requests to actually go through all of them. And
yeah, I know. But again, right now, considering they did away with that completely, and now it's the direct thing, and
yeah, it's there's a lot of anime porn games there now. A lot of them,
and almost as expected, it's basically becoming the not necessarily Wild West, but it's kind of like
the Google Play Store.
Steam is kind of starting to look like a mobile game store.
Yeah, which is sad.
Exactly. So it's not like people aren't gonna work with Steam, but we have seen a couple of devs take their announcements or their projections of releasing games on Steam out of the schedule.
Yep.
Which is quite big news. I mean, I wasn't actually expecting it to be that quick, but devs are kind of aware that just being on Steam doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, you still have access to the Steam itself, which is a great resource unto itself in
Sure,
terms of a
sure.
platform.
But I'm just saying, nowadays, when especially when it's about indies and things that are gonna be difficult to discover anyway,
Mhm.
especially on a place like Steam, they're relying more and more on the communities that they build on their own.
Yeah, that is very important, especially because Steam had a bug a while ago where it would improperly recommend games from the start page. So a lot of the indie devs sort of found that their audience sort of dropped by like 80%. I think Steam had an explanation of exactly what happened. And I think it's fixed now, but it happened like right when the Epic Store launched, so it really didn't sit well with a lot of people.
But overall, competition is good. Competition is
Oh yeah.
great. That's how capitalism and the free market is supposed to work. And we can only look forward to what next year will bring, especially for indie developers. Because if you're an indie developer and you're conscious enough and you're aware that you actually need to build a community around your game or around your brand, your company, those people come there for you.
Yeah.
Basically, they're interested in your product or in who you are, who your company is, and they'll buy your game wherever it is available. They won't necessarily ask for it or want or need it to be on Steam. And furthermore, if the community, if you're doing a great job at building a community, then the community will actually want you to get as much of their money as possible.
Yeah, that's
So
what our friend Zappa is doing right now. He's selling games directly from his own website. He still
I
uses
think,
Steam.
okay.
He still uses Steam, but he uses his own website now. You can pay him money directly. Which you should go to do that right now. You can buy Rogue Sweeper. You can buy Ebony Spire Heresy. You can buy that thing he made in 24 hours for that game jam once where you control a bunch of mobs around. I forgot the name of the game. I think there's pimps versus vampires on there as well. Get to
Yeah,
fight
something like that.
vampires as a pimp. It's a nice game. Well, it's a nice idea for a game.
Yeah, so exactly for devs like Zappa, or maybe even slightly bigger, who are doing a bit more, marketing and community building and management and that sort of stuff. Things like the Epic Store or the Discord offer not only great alternatives, but actually the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even for creating some sort of an exclusivity contract or that sort of stuff, because they obviously, if they go on Steam, they're gonna get buried.
Yeah, Steam doesn't really do unless you're like a big publisher and have like pre-existing contracts with them and a long relationship. You're not gonna get your indie game on the front page or like in the splash page screen there. That's not where you're gonna go.
No, fuck that. No. That's not gonna happen.
But if you're on Discord, where they like have 5 games right now, or on Epic Game Store, you will have a very big chunk of a smaller market. But it's a market that's gonna grow.
And again, you're basically you will be helping create that market because you're gonna bring your own community to it, and your community is gonna support you wherever, if it's done enough. So I think it's actually a great thing. I think it's a great thing for indie developers, especially in right now, when again this year the news was that we're kind of out of middle developers. Like the AA developers have all been gobbled up mostly, except for Larian.
Larian is getting a bit bigger-ish. It's getting it's a bit of a strange situation because AAA used to mean something at one point, and now the studios we think of as AAA are more like in the quadruple A sector. They're like 2,000 manpower strong. They've gotten way too big. So what used to be AAA is the new middle market. People like studios that have like 400 people on them. Paradox Paradox has around 400 employees right now. It's kind of a AAA studio in terms.
I guess, but again, they have their own marketing department. They have their own
they're like
digital distribution platform.
They're a AAA publisher now. They're their own AAA publisher, if you will. If AAA would still mean what it used to mean.
Okay, well, I guess we can have that discussion later on next year.
Mm-hmm. But the
idea,
what we consider to be SAA is they're kind of being bought.
Yes, this year was also there had been rumors that Obsidian was going to be purchased by Microsoft, and we talked about this. So we talked about this in one of our relatively recent episodes. We recorded it on Saturday, I believe. And we talked about the rumor that Obsidian might be sold to Microsoft and what that would entail. And then an hour after we finished recording, we got the news that not only was Obsidian sold to Microsoft, but so was In Exile.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to, we couldn't post the podcast with like literally old news.
Yeah.
So we recorded a patch on Sunday about it. But that's quite massive.
If BioWare can patch books, we can patch videos. And we did it before release. You got a day one patch.
Exactly. Day zero, fuck it.
Oh yeah, day zero.
So they bought two of the few remaining sorta indie studios that were making very old school-ish or old school type RPGs. And I think you know a bit more about the other things that Microsoft bought throughout the year.
Yeah, they bought Compulsion Games, which also made a crowdfunding game called We Happy Few, which We Happy Few has a very, very strange history. It started out as a Kickstarter game that was just a sort of like Forager, but you don't plant things. You just sneak by people, sort of like random generation, survival, things like that. And then they, for some reason, at E3, they showed a trailer for the game that didn't really fit with anything that they ever showed from the game until then. It looked like Bioshock. It had a story, it had characters, it had dialogue, and the game had none of those, apart from that single bit in the intro. And people were kind of disappointed when they played the game and they saw in the early access version, and they saw that there was nothing from that version in the actual game. So Compulsion Games said, okay, we're not going to release it. We're going to make the game that you wanted us to make. And it took them like a year or so, and they did it. And the game's... but it's better than it used to be. And Microsoft bought them. And they also bought... they bought the studio that was lauded like this year or last year for making the best AAA level indie game. What's his name? I forgot the name. Sacrifice, Setsuna Sacrifice. The game with.
Oh,
that one.
Okay, yeah, I know what to talk about.
Hellblade.
Sensor. Yeah, something like that.
They bought those two, and they also bought the makers of Forza Horizon, which was... I always thought that was one of their studios to begin with.
Is it Forza or Forza?
It depends if you're Italian or not.
Well, yeah, but if you could pronounce it properly, shouldn't you pronounce it properly? I mean, I get this when it's time to pronounce Munich or München. If you can actually pronounce the thing in the language it was, created in, why shouldn't you pronounce it in that one? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Because it's Forza Motorsport, I guess, and it's English, but it's based on an Italian thing, so...
I don't know. I do try to pronounce things in their native language if I can pronounce it.
I mean, even in Romania, we even write it Forza, not Forza.
Yeah.
So that's how you're supposed to say it, I guess. But since it's published in America and then it's made by English people, it's a language thing that you get used to it after a while.
I was just curious how or why. No, I'm not saying it should be one way or the other. I'm just saying I would pronounce it Forza.
Oh, and by the way, Forza Motorsport 4, a lot more fun than the. I only played a demo of it of Forza, and it's a lot better than the Crew 2. It's a lot less annoying than the Crew 2. It's a lot less disappointing than the Crew 2. they I don't know how they did it with the Crew 2. I mean, they knew what they got wrong in the Crew 1. I told them what they got. I gave them the videos and all the feedback and the synthesis of the videos with what they got wrong. And they did fix some of the things, and then they added more wrong things. And I don't think the game has PvP yet. The MMO, the racing MMO, I don't think you can race other people yet in it.
Car games, man, I could never get into them.
Yeah.
Except for Carmageddon, obviously.
At least in this one, you don't climb towers with your car anymore to reveal the map, which was something that you had to do in the Crew 1. Because it was the Ubisoft, the game mechanic of you climb a tower to reveal the map in every Ubisoft game. And
then did you do one of those leap of faiths with the cars? And see if they transform into a transformer by the way that they get down?
No, I used to do that over the Grand Canyon, but the car would always reset. Like it would just reset midair. It wouldn't let you crash, even though your car was immortal. Like in the beta of it, it used to have like actual physical changes to the car, and performance would degrade as you got it damaged. That's why they had the repair feature that cost money. And when the game launched, they removed the actual damage component, but still have the repair feature. That still costs money.
Bastardos. That's what they are.
True. Very
but
true.
Enough about that. But basically, the conclusion is Epic Store and Discord Store, great news for us, basically.
And Microsoft buys everybody, so they're ramping up for the Xbox.
They are ramping up for something.
Yeah,
that's sure.
There were a couple of rumors like three days ago of the new Xboxes being called the Anaconda. So if you want some,
my Anaconda don't. What?
Yeah, I know. This is gonna be.
This is what you get on live stream, people.
Yeah. The big one's gonna be called the Anaconda.
Well, it is.
It's gonna have the hardware in it. Basically, it's gonna have beefy hardware. It could probably run games at 4K 60. Well, 4K with the interpolation they do to upscale them from 1440p. It's probably gonna be a Ryzen 2 based computer. Ryzen 2 as in Zen 2 as in Ryzen 3000 based machine, and they're also gonna have Lockhart, which is the streaming device. It's going to be a lower, weaker hardware, but built to stream games off a server. So it's sort of, as I've understood it, it's going to be a service similar to the one that PlayStation has with PlayStation Now, but it's going to be a cheaper alternative compared to the big Anaconda. It's going to be like a smaller Anaconda for your everyday use.
It's gonna be more like it's gonna be the poor cousin from the country Anaconda. Yeah, and the thing is and we covered this in detail in our past episodes, but it's never a superiorly bad idea to repeat yourself a bit on the internet. For the very near future, like for next year, both In Exile and Obsidian being purchased by Microsoft it's great news.
Oh yeah.
For what they're planning to release, basically for what they've already announced and have been working on. Wasteland 3 on the In Exile side, and the wonderfully looking Outer Worlds for Obsidian. Although I think In Exile have been working on something else in the background as well.
Probably.
Because they did do Bard's Tale for the VR and stuff whilst working on Wasteland 3. So I think they're actually working on something else in the background as well that they haven't yet announced. But anyway.
Sadly,
it just... yeah.
This one.
No, go.
Sadly, the thing they're working on now in the background may not be released on GOG because they've said they cannot promise that they will release things on GOG past Wasteland 3. So it's probably gonna be Microsoft Store exclusive.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Thankfully, Phil Spencer has said that he will make an effort to make the Microsoft Store less like stabbing yourself with a fork in the eye. I don't have a fork. I just have this knife. I'm not gonna exactly illustrate the experience, but let's pretend I did.
the thing is, so we're gonna segue this into something less great. For the initial time, everything is gonna be actually better for In Exile and Obsidian because the people working there actually have security because
Yeah.
they know they won't be just massively fired and that sort of stuff. But
Well, it's still Microsoft. They may if Phil Spencer gets fired himself, something horrible may happen to all the studios. But
yeah, but that's again that it when if and when that happens. But for the time being,
yeah,
it's gonna be great, barring that. But
they will not be screwed on money like the people at Obsidian have had happen to them because of their own studio leadership.
yeah, but the thing is, and this segues us into the less, the less cooler things that happened this year, is when Activision and Blizzard merged. It was fine.
Yeah,
for many
a while,
years until this year.
Well, it sort of stopped.
I know it started earlier, but this year it became clear that this ain't the Blizzard that we grew to love and that we grew with, and it grew along with us. This is more Activision than it's Blizzard, or what used to be Blizzard. So I hope the same doesn't happen to In Exile and Obsidian. Granted, they don't have the same track record. They haven't been active for as long as Blizzard has been, and haven't released anywhere near the amount of titles that Blizzard has, or have created the same amount of passionate community behind them. Same amount, because pretty sure they have passionate communities, but not as huge as Blizzard is. So maybe they're smaller-ish dimension will actually help them develop or evolve into something different, but in like a good way, as opposed to what's happened to Blizzard. Because I don't think there's no going back to the Blizzard that used to release games when they were ready,
unless they like the people that work there. The people that still want to make great games just quit and start their own studio called Buran and make Blizzard games there. Well, Blizzard games in quotation marks.
Yeah, but do you think they're going to do that? Because like you also said, most of these people have been working for 10, 15, 20 years, like hardcore. Maybe they just want to retire now.
Yeah, there is the fact. Maybe some of them just wanted a break, like for a while, and maybe they'll go on and do their respawn, like the people that worked at Activision making the Call of Duty games did, and formed Respawn Entertainment and are now making Titanfall. Apparently, Titanfall 3 is in the works, so it's but Electronic Arts will find a way to screw with that as well. But hey, it's at least they're making it.
We can only hope, but. I think this year kinda was the death, the clear death of what we used to know as Blizzard.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still looking forward to Warcraft 3 Reforged and
absolutely.
Classic WoW, but those are literally just for like personal reasons, which I think it's what most people are why most people are looking forward to those, not because oh shit, Blizzard is making this. So yeah,
the furniture looks like old grandma stuff. Oh, it's actually quite new. Like
I think it's they're talking about.
Yeah, I got the couch recently, like 2 years ago, and that thing there, the thing with the box, that's like 10 years old, but it's not grandma style. I actually do have a grandma table there, though. We should have a studio.
Do you have doilies? Do you have doilies? Because if you don't have doilies, then it's really not grandma style.
I don't have any of them. I don't have.
Okay, good.
No, none of them. Though there is a tablecloth that sort of looks like one, but it's a it's a
Okay.
tablecloth. It's not a
Okay.
doily.
Okay. Good. Good. Yes, but let's go past that. Um, what other could? Oh yeah, we got that Cyberpunk 2077
Oh
chunk
yeah.
of gameplay
Oh hell
released this
yeah.
year. That was big news also.
Yeah. That is a game to be excited about. Like really be excited about because it's made by people that are super obsessive, like Blizzard used to be, and people that are still have like they don't have anybody supervising their obsession. They are crazy people, and I'm probably gonna see if I can find a. You can talk about it while I try to find a picture.
Well, so I've been following Cyberpunk 2077 ever since this year it came back in a big bad way. I watched the gameplay video and I really enjoyed what I saw, knowing that what we did see was that was a very careful snapshot of the game. Don't really expect the game to be like the things we actually saw. Okay?
Yeah, they promised it would be better.
Man, it's video games. So I just wanna, I wanna keep expectation-y. But what we did see was quite cool, quite interesting, and how to approach things from like a gameplay story perspective.
Okay, so this is the
Darian,
CEO
what
the CEO of
the fuck is Darian?
is the guy at the top Darian? Did, we don't have a Darian around here.
I don't know. I don't know either. No, man, I'm Steven Nonsense. Hey,
That's Steven. I'm Julian. People call me Lulian because the
that is funny though.
upper and lowercase. But that is the CEO of CD Projekt right now on the screen. As you've seen him in The Witcher at the development of The Witcher 1. Looks fine and happy. The Witcher 2 looks a bit a bit worn out, a bit a bit older. The Witcher 3.
That's
and I know there was a version of this with the fourth picture where it's Marv from Home Alone 2 where he gets electrocuted and turned into a skeleton.
Yeah.
That is him after Cyberpunk. They're obsessive people. And they've said that with this game they want to show the industry how you can truly make a game. I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but they are crazy obsessive people, so miracles may happen.
That's true. We should see what happens more into as development goes on. I think the game is still, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 years out.
I'm betting on 2020.
Yeah, most likely. I really don't think it's gonna come next year for sure. I don't even think. Do you think Outer World is coming out next year?
Not sure. Let me actually check. Did they announce a release date out there?
I don't know. I don't know if they did. Do not know if they did. But I'm just saying that would be cool to have Outer Worlds next year. But no.
It is going to be according to Steam next year, unless there's a delay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, there's Microsoft, so we know they have the money at least.
Well, it's not published by Microsoft, but Microsoft may chip in to help develop. Microsoft has done it in the past. They've helped develop games that were being published by other people from the studios that they bought. So there's a precedent with Oni, for example.
Ooh, that's an old one. Jesus. So yeah, Cyberpunk 2077. Looking forward to it. Really curious what we can. I'm really curious about what you can do to your body in it.
Probably a lot of things. Like you've seen the mods that some of the NPCs had with even if faces removed. I think you can do a lot of that as well.
The augmentation. I'm really interested in the augmentation part of the thing. And you have to. So the thing in the gameplay video where they showed you the eye that was just movie making. Someone had a hard on to show that. Yeah. Because you didn't really need to see that in the gameplay video demonstration of it, but they were like, oh no, they need to see this. Yes. It
reminded me a bit of the bit of RoboCop where they were assembling him.
Yeah,
The word. The word.
the word of
Where
a
they're
sample.
putting them
Yes.
together.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, really looking forward to the success for of Cyberpunk 2077. The way in which I see it is, it's all gonna hinge on how much variety, how varied you can do in the game, how differently you can approach the things, because in the gameplay we see you could have a gun that basically shot through the walls, or open, and I'm curious if you could do that sort of Deus Ex human evolution sort of stuff, but upgraded. And basically, if you can approach things totally differently without that approach having already been considered by the devs.
Yeah, if it's based on systems interacting with systems, you can definitely get away with doing things they never thought of. Like you could in the earlier Deus Ex games, where you could do stupid things like fall off the map by placing mines on walls and jumping off the mines. There was less of that in Deus Ex Human Evolution, though you could you could pick up a turret and just walk around with it if you had enough strength and just have it shoot people for you, which was a fun thing to do. So hopefully they'll go for more of that, more of the freedom simulation based stuff, rather than the scripted sequence. I was happy to see that when you do like pierce walls, either with normal weapons or the one that shoots the walls, it's not at predefined locations like it was in Deus Ex Human Evolution. It's actually everywhere.
Yeah, so I think that's where the success of the game is gonna, because it's gonna look great, it's gonna sound great. We kind of know these things. Probably the story is gonna be pretty interesting as well.
Also,
but
boobies.
Obviously, and ass. But yeah, I think that's what the game's gonna hinge on much more so than it looking good or the story. Just literally how you can play the game.
Yeah.
And how differently you can play the game.
I kind of wish you don't have the ray tracing in it.
Well, at a certain point, Unicom. At a certain point, I think it will.
Night City with ray traced shadows would be amazing.
And would probably fry everything.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have to get like an SLI 2080 Ti system, like with $3,000 just for the video cards. It'll be worth it. I mean,
I don't know about that.
Do you really need two kidneys? Like you have two of them, right?
Well, in Cyberpunk 2077, probably don't even need both of them, because you might be able to get like an automated thing that a cyber implant that does both.
Or you could do like do you need an entire liver? Like probably not. I mean, if you're playing Cyberpunk, you can pretend that you have an augmented liver, like Case had in Neuromancer, so he couldn't get drunk.
Technically speaking, like physiologically speaking, you don't need your entire liver. The liver, you need at least 30% of your liver to both function, and it will regrow back. So technically, you don't need your entire liver.
See,
well, you need your entire liver because yours is fucked.
Yeah.
But other people.
But if you don't, we have a referral link to our friend Sergey, who runs a organ donation for cash and gold company.
Yes, you come here, you give me liver, I give you money, da?
Yes.
No signees, no contracts, no handshake. We're men. Yeah, Cyberpunk, looking good. Gonna keep an eye out for it. I am actually. There's a bunch of indie games that I am actually super looking forward to being released next year. And I'm actually gonna make a video at the start of January. I'm gonna make like a top sort of 10 indie games that I'm really looking forward to. Most of them being, they're generally in the RPG, turn-based tactics, city builder, which is what I play. But there's a couple that I'm really looking forward to that haven't been. I mean, they haven't seen a lot of. People don't know about them. Basically, that's what. And there's one that looks kind of like a cross between Divinity Original Sin and XCOM, and I think it's called Druid Stone. Give me a sec. It's something I only saw a quick. I only saw basically like a quick video of it, like a teaser, not even a trailer, and it really caught my eye because it's like it's fantasy set, which you know that rings all kinds of D&D lights in my head. But it looked it looked not like Temple of Elemental Evil, basically. So it looked properly functioning. Give me a sec. I'm not sure if it's Druid Stone or Druid Shard or something like this.
Okay, while you're doing that, Demon Slayer pointed out something very interesting. Why sell your liver when you can sell the organs of other people? So you only have one liver, but 9 people have 9 livers.
Well, it depends how. It depends. If you're part of the liver mafia, then sure. But otherwise, I don't know about that.
Yeah, please go on.
The thing is, so you and me, if we were to exist in one of those worlds, let's be honest, we wouldn't be the heroes. We wouldn't be the protagonists.
We wouldn't even be.
We wouldn't even be the bad guys. We'd be the fucking NPCs.
Yeah.
Or worse, we'd just render occasionally, just like background people, extras, not even extras. So
they accidentally killed by a flying goat or something.
Yeah, we're just talking about like us. We're gonna have to use our organs until something happens like that.
Raoul still has 2 kidneys, if you're asking, Demon Slayer.
Yes, it's Druid. It's called Druid Stone, the Secret of the Menhir Forest.
Ooh.
And is
there an obelisk in there?
I think there might be more of them, actually. I don't know. Well, not an obelisk, but
there's menhirs and it's a forest, and he's always carrying them around.
So that's the link that you can check it out for the people in our live stream.
I should have set this up so I can capture from the browser so I can show people the trailer.
That I haven't actually. Next time we're learning, and there's a bunch of other things, but I will mention them in the video. But that one is something that like really caught my eye for the fact that it's kind of simple, but it's this fantasy approach to that. Anyway, yeah. So that's one of the things. There's a couple others, but hey, watch my video next year for the rest, because this is one thing that I plan to do next year. I'm gonna try for monthly, but if that doesn't work, like once every 2 or 3 months, I want to make videos with the upcoming indie games that I'm looking forward to, just as a way of spotlighting more titles than I can actually play. So if you're interested in indie game, just check that out starting next year.
To answer Jack, the organ trafficking job does have a dental plan if you have a pair of pliers on you.
Then it has all the dental plans.
Yeah, as many as you need. So what were we talking? See, we talked about that. Oh yeah, since we're talking about Cyberpunk things, I'm gonna mention Synthetic again. Synthetic.
Oh, go for it.
One of my favorite games of this year. It's the one that was released this year that I played the most of. It's still a simple concept of a game. You start with a pistol and a bunch of robots. You kill them. You may get some credits. You may find a weapon. You may get some gear. It's all its elements bound together that like individually none of them make for a superb game, but all of them together. Like the manual aiming to get a headshot, the movement, the tactical essence of it, the items, the upgraded items, the weapons, the weapon upgrades, the weapon modules, the classes, the levels, the fact that you no longer get stuck in corners because they fixed the bounding box issues. All those make a great game, and they've recently launched in early access beta kind of thing, a separate standalone expansion, I guess you could call it. It still saves you progress from the main game. It's called Synthetic Arena. It's based on smaller missions where you don't necessarily just traverse a level. You stay to a place in one place and defend an area from enemies. You have to go hunt enemies in a level, or you have to do collect other stuff in a level. It's a shorter experience based on the idea that Not a lot of people actually have finished Synthetic because it's bloody hard. It's incredibly hard, and for some reason I thought it was easier in co-op, but no. It turns out it does scale up the difficulty level in co-op, so it gets even harder when there's two people. So I'm not sure if anybody's finished it honestly, because it's incredibly hard. I've cheated in it and I've not managed to finish it yet. But Synthetic Arena though has shorter levels. They're a lot more approachable, and you still get loot and stuff and experience, and it's quite fun. So again, check out Synthetic. It's super cool.
That's your game discovery of the year. You have you kind of have to say that. For me, I think it's kind of Forager, to be honest. It's a late year discovery because I don't really think. Oh no, there is. I think so. There is Forager, which I really dug. And yes, Ancestors Legacy.
Which was actually free on Steam a while ago, 2 weeks ago.
If there is a very unexpected cool game that I played this year, it's actually Ancestor Legacy, because of the fact that it is an actual RTS game, which we actually talked about. We had an episode of GameTales in which we talked about whether or not the RTS is still alive. Not really.
In the mainstream, though, it's...
No, I don't know. But Ancestor Legacy is super nice. It's super nice if you play the single-player campaigns, because it has a bunch of campaigns. The models look great. The sounds look great. It has a zoom-in cinematic camera. So basically, you can literally zoom in with your mouse scroll wheelie thing to see what's happening. And it can actually look like a bunch of... It's not a cinematic camera like the XCOM thing necessarily. No, you actually see what's happening, whatever they're doing. It's not just an action-based thing. So that's super cool. And the units are really differentiated, and there is, each unit has pluses and cons, and then there's other units that perfectly counterbalance another unit, but then you get some archers in there and they can hit your own guys, and there's a couple of special units that have like AoE abilities and that sort of stuff. And it's really nice in multiplayer. That's where it's great in single player, don't get me wrong, it's awesome, but in multiplayer it's crazy cool. And that's one that's really, really surprised me this year.
Is it a high-speed real-time strategy for multiplayer? Like, do you need to have wicked mad micro skills on it?
No, not necessarily. As far as I could play, not necessarily micro skills, but tactical awareness is a thing that you kind of need to. You need to be aware of the distances and whether the archers or the bolters are in range, and if they can see them. You could always walk into a trap. You can put traps like spikes and shit, and if you're not careful, you fall into the trap and you can lose like half of your squadron. But there's also high grass, so you can keep them stealthed. It's basically just watch my video, because I played against the AI, and the AI was aggressive as fuck.
Good.
I wasn't expecting that much aggressiveness from the AI. But yeah, Ancestors Legacy, I was really, really super pleasantly surprised, both by how it looks, how it sounds, and how it actually plays.
That's very good to know. So you should try it, or at least go and watch Steven's video of it.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe. It's kind of long, but it's a gameplay video, so you get to see a lot. You literally get to see the mechanics in action and stuff like that.
Well, we do have a couple of more things to talk about, but they're not necessarily super gaming related. But I'm going to mention one more gaming related thing for this year that was a good thing. Cloud Imperium Games, the makers of Star Citizen, have announced that Squadron 42 will be released in the year 2020. It's going to be released in alpha early that year, beta mid-year, release that year as well. So you're finally going to get the Wing Commander Reborn experience that we've waited for so long. With Mark Hamill again there, with Mark Strong, with Agent Dana Scully in there. I forgot her name. Gillian Anderson. She's in there as well. The Dracula, what's his name? It wasn't Dracula and plays most villains in most movies. Gary Oldman. He's in there as well. Yeah. Everybody's there.
Okay, I would have I wouldn't have thought of Gary Oldman necessarily, but sure,
Well, he
sure.
has played
I was
Dracula.
going. I was going. Yeah, he did play Dracula. Sure, arguably good. But no, I was thinking like someone who plays a vampire, like one of those Udo Kier
Oh yeah, Udo
kind of like
Kier.
secondary characters.
Udo Kier would have been amazing in that, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit more like a straight, more dramatic kind of campaign. Not as much of the camp that Udo Kier is kind of known of, which is kind of weird because Udo Kier used to be like a real art house actor back in his younger days, and he did play Dracula as well in one of them with a movie where Dracula was an allegory for the aristocracy, and him being killed was the triumph of the workers and the communist revolution over the bourgeoisie.
Hashtag Marxism.
Yeah.
Yes, tasty.
It was made in the 70s or something. It's a weird movie. But we're going to get Squadron 42 in the year 2020. Hopefully by then I'll have a build that can actually run it. Because that game has, at this point, it has over 100 gigs. It's not going to get any smaller. It is recommended that you have an SSD to run it off because it is massive. It is gigantic. It is, well, if they could have found a way to make it using procedurally generated assets like textures, it would have probably been better, but the technology was not really there yet. So it's going to have to load those textures for those planets that you have, like actual planet scale level planets in multiplayer too. It's going to have to load them from somewhere, so it's going to be a gigantic game. But it's getting close. It's almost there. And it's made by obsessive people. One example they showed is that everything in a single player campaign on the carrier that you're playing on is simulated. Every character goes to their job, like walks there. You actually see them. You can run into them if you're running about the ship. And they gave one amazing example. They have a floor cleaner. It's an NPC. You can talk to him. He cleans floors. They made a system that generates puddles for him to seek out and clean. He will seek out puddles and clean them across the ship. He doesn't just stand in one place. He seeks out puddles. He has an AI for seeking puddles. They programmed that into the game. They're insane.
That's the sort of detail we're looking for.
Yeah.
Ooh, couple more games.
Yeah.
I wanna shout out for this year that I really enjoyed. Driftland: The Magic Revival. Now, this is yet another really odd duck, pun not necessarily intended, type of game, because it's kind of an RTS, kind of a 4X, but with pause. So it's not a turn-based 4X, and it's not a pure RTS, because you can pause it.
Mm-hmm.
You can pause the real time to give orders, and then you can also speed it up and slow it down. So, and it's really cool. The everything about how the game works is really cool. It has a very interesting mechanic in which basically you have so the equivalent of a hex, like a territory hex, is floating islands. And magically you can get these islands close to you or explore them and see if they're worth getting close to you. You can build bridges over them and build some stuff on them and gather resources and build buildings and research stuff. I really liked Driftland: The Magic Revival. If you're into the RTS with pause /4X genre, which isn't a thing, but the game is really cool and the animations are really nice also. So the games I'm talking about I actually covered on my channel, so you can check those out there. Since I just said that, how about I just make it easy for everyone and post the link, because I have them. The game has seen a bunch more up since I actually covered it, because it was still in early access when I covered. So there's that, which is really cool. And the other thing, one of the games that actually, a couple of years ago, I played Banished. And once I played Banished, that rekindled my passion for playing city builders. That happened like 3 years ago, I think, already. 2 or 3 years ago. And after that, I started playing City Builders. I restarted playing City Builders again. So this game did something similar, but relating to Heroes 2. The game I'm talking about is called Fort Triumph. And it's actually, this is a purer sort of fantasy version of XCOM, but with the important difference that when you're not in tactical combat, you're basically in a world map similar to that of Heroes. You go and you visit places where things might happen, where you might get resources or lose resources. There's enemies on the map which you can approach or not approach. Obviously, it's heavily inspired by Heroes. It's the map and the game doesn't look anything like it, but that's the general gist of it. This is the link. So yeah, those have been a couple of the titles that I really dug this year, and that not a lot of people are actually talking about. Although more people are talking about these two than I don't know, All Walls Must Fall, for instance. But yeah, those two are some of the things that I still have my eye on, because so Fort Triumph isn't fully released, and I'm not sure Driftland is fully released per se either. So we'll see about that. So yeah, that's about. I think that's about it, sort of, from my side of things relating to like the really cool stuff that happened this year. We should mention
of video games, yeah.
In terms of most videos, yeah, we should mention that Atom RPG was released
like
and
2 days ago.
Yeah.
For those who
which
don't know,
promise
Atom RPG is Fallout, but set in Russia. Like Fallout 1 and 2 set in Russia. And it's a lot like Fallout 1 and 2, but has a lot more survival characteristics to it. And it is very well made. Like it's shockingly well made.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually playing that next year.
I think
as
it
well.
it may actually work on your laptop, because it doesn't seem like people have big requirements.
Yeah, it probably might actually, but yeah, that's for later on in the year anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of sort of done with. Obviously, a lot more things happened, and if you're interested in going into sort of detailing them, we covered a bunch of them in our special GameTales episodes. The ones that don't have an actual theme are usually about news, and we kind of mention it. One of them is called Good News, everyone. Then there's the one about the Game Awards we did earlier, and
the one with BlizzCon where we were very
sad.
The
one with BlizzCon, yes. We're gonna leave that to the past.
You want to talk a bit about things we've seen, like viewed?
Oh yeah, sure. So
if people don't know, Steven reviews shows and movies on his channel quite often.
I tend to do that. Yeah, I have my own mini podcast. It's called the Nonsense Cast, where I tend to talk a lot. The idea is the idea behind the podcast was to talk about non-gaming stuff, but it's somehow turned into me just reviewing Netflix shows. And there's been a bunch of cool stuff that I watched this year that you can see me talk about in Nonsense Cast. One of the cooler things that I really enjoyed this year is a show called Final Space. And Final Space is an animated show that kind of tricks you into thinking it's something. And when you watch it, it's kind of like 70% of it is the thing you think it is, but then it lays on like 30% of like really serious drama on you, like really serious character development and drama stuff happens in it, and that's surprising. But it's such a fun, it's such a crazy fun watch. So I really suggest Final Space. Final Space is this is my condensation of Final Space. Imagine the original Star Trek, but all the crew members are Kirk. That's basically what happens. All the crew members are various facets of Kirk. It's crazy, crazy stuff.
Yep.
Then there was Disenchantment.
Oh,
Disenchantment. Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
say,
Which
I like this enchantment a lot more than it stuck with me more than Final Space did. I don't know exactly why it did, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I did Final Space.
I don't know either. I liked Disenchantment, but I think I had higher expectations of it because I compared it to so the idea was, and this is kind of like what they were trying to sell, was basically fantasy set Futurama.
Mhm.
It's made by Matt Groening, same art style, kind of same approach, but not really. So Futurama is a pretty high it's a pretty high point in terms of writing in
Yeah.
general. I'm saying the entirety of it. And I was kind of hoping, I was expecting something, slightly below that, but kind of in that same vein. But the thing is, I had already watched Once Upon a Time. And if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time, basically it does what I hoped Disenchantment would have done, much more subverting expectations and deconstructing the fantasy tropes,
Mhm.
which they only do very little. There's one episode in which they find the homicidal Hansel and Gretel,
Mhm.
which totally fine with. But I'm just saying that should have happened in every episode, pretty much. Something like that should have happened in every episode.
Yeah, it goes quite quickly into its own plot, into its own story and characters.
It does, and they're trying to build their own world, which I can appreciate. And also, the important thing about Disenchantment is the final two episodes basically prepare you for a season two that is completely different from season one.
Mm-hmm.
So it sets up the world for like the first half of the season, and then it steadily starts to morph into this other thing that kind of becomes its own thing at towards the end. But again, it's you might have liked it a lot because of that. My expectations were kind of different, so that's why I still enjoyed it, but I was expecting
Mm-hmm.
more making fun of shit,
Well,
basically
I think
making fun of
they may
tropes.
take feedback and like do more of that in the second season, because I've seen Netflix shows do that quite often. For example, the Dragon Prince, which is the new show by the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. They are taking advice from the audience for the second season. One of the most important things is add more frames to the animation because it looks like crap. It's strange because when there's fast action, the low frame rate actually makes it look good, but when there's little action, when there's just characters slowly moving, it looks horrible.
That's odd because that's a technique from anime making,
Mhm.
but they do the opposite. In order to save on money, they use less frames when there's nothing happening,
Yeah, at least in
and
anime, yeah,
they use way more frames. Even they use way more than 24 frames per second when there's an action scene. That's why, in general, anime fights look so fluid,
yeah.
is because they literally use more frames than usual.
But anime gets around using fewer frames when there's no action by just having characters stand still and not move. Just maybe their heads moving. But in this one, they still
Yeah.
move, and it's just jarring. Like you can never unsee the frame rate for it. And they've said that they will add more frames to it because the show itself is nice. It's got nice characters, but it maybe does it's as you've mentioned that you had certain expectations for Disenchanted because of Futurama. I had certain expectations for Dragon Prince because of Korra and Avatar, and they're sort of not where they're supposed to be in terms of quality and well, pretty much anything with that show. But it sort of hints like it's going to get there one day, hopefully.
It could, but in the more anime things side of things, another thing that I saw on Netflix was Agretsuko, whatever the fuck correct pronunciation of that one is, which it's surprisingly funny and cathartic to watch Agretsuko.
The basic concept of it is, if you will.
Yeah. The basic concept is, anthropomorphic fuzzy animals. The protagonist is a red fox who works in the accounting department of a company, and her way of therapy, basically, of dealing with being a salary person in Japan, which is generally shit, is she sings death metal karaoke, which is mind-fuckingly funny because the karaoke she sings is always related to what's going on to her. So she has a very shitty boss who is also a pig, which not a lot of symbolism there, but so she gets really mad, and when she sings her death metal, it's she mentions that's how she unloads. That's her therapy. It's surprisingly fun. It's surprisingly fun. I started watching it for the death metal scenes, which if even if you're not gonna watch the entire show, just watch the first episode, because when the death metal scenes start, I could not stop laughing because it was so funny. But then you kind of get into the story of what's going on with these fuzzy, funny characters. So I really enjoyed the Agretsuko as well. On the quasi anime side, I rewatched Castlevania season 1.
And season 2 came out as well.
I know I haven't watched season 2 yet, but you'll be damn sure I'll cover it. And watching Castlevania as a Romanian who kind of likes history is an odd experience. It's funny.
Season 2 is gonna be even more because it's Sail Umbrella.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can get all the feels.
I actually have feedback for them. They got the shape of the citadel right. We did have walls that were shaped like that. There was no bridge over the Danube everywhere. There's the Danube and there's a bridge over it leading to somewhere. There's no.
It's just into the realm of season 2.
It's leading into what appears to be Morbrela, but that's not. There's no Morbrela over the Danube. That's a different county. That's not even a city there. There's been no bridge over the river. Well, there is one being built now. It's going to be done in 5 years, but we didn't have one back in those days.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
allegedly. Yeah, but it was good. It was good. I only played the first Castlevania game. I really enjoyed it. But it was good. It was kind of good. I was expecting a bit different stuff, but it was literally more like a proof of concept or a demo, basically, of what the show can be, because it only had 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So from what I've heard, season 2 is more. It is more of that, more action scenes, more. The fight scenes look great also. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one as well. One piece of kind of bummer news that happened this year is that Burt Reynolds died.
And Stanley as well.
Yeah, but Burt Reynolds was surprisingly... So he was the type of actor that you always notice in movies, but maybe you don't just really get into it. But when I heard he died, there is this movie that has become part of especially American pop culture called Smokey and the Bear.
The Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit. Sorry, Smokey and the Bear.
Smokey the Bear is...
Smokey the Bear is something different. Smokey and the Bandit. Sorry about
it.
Yeah, sorry about that. And I was like, I think this would be the best time to watch this movie. And lo and behold, it was on Netflix. And I watched the movie. I fucking loved the movie. That's crazy fun. It's movies the way they don't make movies anymore.
Oh yeah, I think
it doesn't necessarily.
We had discussions about these kinds of movies before with the ones that used to be with Bud Spencer as well. That
exactly.
Kind of slapstick style comedy.
It's just it's not even that slapsticky. Not in this case, but it doesn't really have that complex or important or interesting of a plot.
Yeah, it's just
It's
fun.
it's very sort of character based. It's funny.
And it's not offensive either, like Transformers is or some other Adam Sandler movies are. It's
Yeah.
just fun. It's
Yeah, it is.
joyful.
Even if you don't like cars, which I'm not a big fan of cars, but it's basically a road movie sort of, or like.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was really. So yeah, watch if you want to watch something really old and weird. Well, not really old, but actually it's kind of 50 years by now already. So kind of old. Just watch Smokey and the Bandit, man. It's really fun. It's just light-hearted fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think unless you have some stuff to add, I think we should be talking about what we plan to do next
Yeah.
year on our respective channels, because there's gonna be a lot of changes.
Oh, big ones.
Yeah.
Should we foreshadow more?
We will, but just
Okay.
talk about. We're gonna talk a bit about our co-plans, but you go first.
Well, I'm gonna be starting a new job on January 1st, so I'm not gonna have as much time dedicated to the channel anymore. So daily content is out. I'm gonna try and do 3 shows a week. That is at best. It may be down to 2 shows a week with the podcast factored in or not. I mean, the podcast is gonna be there, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be 2 shows and the podcast or 3 shows and the podcast. It's gonna be somewhere around there. So you probably shouldn't expect regular big complex content from me like Year That Game was. That was a monster to make. Thankfully it's over. It could have been better, but it's over at least. I'm thankful for that now. I haven't actually sit down to plan anything. Well, there are 2 shows that I have planned for next year. One of them is a review of that TV over there, and one of them is for a review of what's it like having used this camera for an entire year. It's been fun. I'm actually going to take a picture of you people right now through the camera. Let's see if it works.
Ooh.
Nope, didn't work. Okay, so okay, it's okay. The NSA will fax me a picture of you guys watching the video right now. It'll be fine. I'm going to add it in post-production. Well, I haven't sat down and made extensive plans for the content next year, which is something I'm probably going to do at the beginning of January. We'll see where things are there with the job and the extra time free. But I can say that there is one thing that may be coming soon, well, soon-ish, next year on the channel. Right, Steven?
Yes. So now that considering the fact that Unicom is actually gonna have a different sort of time allotment to stuff, there's been we've been talking about collaborating on something a bit more than just this podcast, and we actually have very tentative plans of making a series of videos. Now, the thing is, these will be a very special and very hugely time-sucking projects.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for us to get them done, in order for us to actually get them done, we kind of sort of decided that we're not gonna try to do them by a deadline. These are gonna be the types of things that we're gonna post when they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna be ready when they're ready, basically. It's like old school Blizzard approach in this case. Because and I don't really want to give off too many details of what we're trying to do, because we're really not sure if we can get the things to a level where we're both okay with. Right now we're still in the conceptualization side of things, but we plan to conceptualize them and plan them and write them and so on and so forth, record them as a collaboration. The idea is this series of videos will be documentary-like,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily a documentary per se. And the idea is they will be gaming related, obviously. And the thing is, they will start on the Gaming HD channel. So part 1 of Subject X will be on the Gaming HD channel, and then it will continue on my channel for part 2. Ideally, yes, ideally, each episode will be its own. So each part can be viewed on its own, but it will be that much better if you actually view both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really, really want next year to actually increase my watch time and maybe be able to get my channel remonetized, hopefully. And this is one of the tactics or things we can actually do, and Unicom was gracious enough to allow me to be helped to want to basically help me in that way. We'll both work on the things, obviously, but this way I might actually get a bit more watch time out of it. But yeah, the idea is we want to do something that hasn't been done in at least 20 years in terms of documentary sort of writing is concerned. This isn't gonna be something like the types of documentaries you see from NoClip. Definitely not. We don't have that type of budget or access. Nor will it be the type of stuff that Ahoy does, which is super great, but he tends to focus on just one game, or generally goes through a chronological sort of approach to the one game. And what we plan to do is a bit more over encompassing and just slightly different. It's a slightly different approach that has been done before. That's all we're gonna say. What we want to do is kind of a tribute to an older documentary maker that we both grew up watching. And I think that's as much as I am comfortable in revealing at this point in time.
We'll drop hints over the course of the next year.
Yes, we like I said, we're still in the concept phase, so we still don't know a lot of things, but we kind of know what we want to do.
We have to figure out how.
Yeah, it's down to how we're gonna actually do it, structure it, write it, that sort of stuff. But this does have the potential to be, if not on par to the Year Dot series, maybe close to it. It's gonna be. We can maybe just make a couple of these per year anyway, because we do want them to be done correctly and to our satisfaction. And this was one of your regrets as to this passing year, that you didn't have enough time to actually put into the Year Dot series as much as you would have liked to.
Yep.
So since you literally have less time now, you can actually use the time you do have to basically put into making something to just making fewer things but of much higher quality. And that's where I will be helping as well.
Loth Gaming asks you if you've seen Aquaman.
Hey, Loft Gaming. No, I have not yet seen Aquaman. Most likely, I will not be seeing it in cinema, because here in Denmark, the prices for cinema tickets are absolutely insane.
Would you like to give an example of price? If you're from Romania and watching this video right now, sit down. You don't want to have panic attack.
If you're from Romania, I don't know if Loth is Loth, because otherwise that doesn't say a lot. Wait, dude, don't leave, no dead air, even if we're waiting for something, just keep on talking.
Okay, so while he's looking up prices, for Romania, ticket prices for a movie tend to be around, I think, let me see, the last movie I paid for with the 3D glasses was what is around $7. That's what the ticket price was. Now, if you do buy popcorn, you will be paying your monthly wages, but it's around maybe at best, like if you're going for the 4D experience, that's around $10. But normally it's way cheaper than that, like $5, $6, $7.
Yes, well, since he is from Romania, the average cost here is 75 ROD.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's not that. I mean, granted, I have considerably more money here, but the cost of living is also higher. So cinema isn't something we go to the cinema when it's like the really super special stuff that both of us really wanna see. And Aquaman, while looks cool, I can just wait for it to come to Netflix or something like that. It's fine. I'm fine with it.
And before we go, Demon Slayer wants to know what your take is on the loot box, loot crate situation in video games.
Ooh, well, that is interesting to see. It's gonna depend uh, on a region by region basis.
Mm.
We here in the European Union have slightly bigger fish to fry, unfortunately, than loot boxes in terms of internet freedom. Um, there's gonna be a vote really soon
Yep.
that will kind of decide, or not necessarily decide, but will really it has the possibility to throw into disarray a lot of how we've been doing things.
Which is why I'm getting a job.
Yeah, which is why he's getting a job. So we kind of had the loot boxes. I do not exactly have that well formed of an opinion on it because I don't really care. Because I do not play those games in general, to be honest. I mean, I did. I do play PUBG. I did play PUBG, and would generally sell the crates that I would buy with the with the points from the game. I actually made I don't know, I think like around 25 euros from it, so I kind of got my money back from the game, which is not bad, to be honest. But as to the other, whether or not it's gambling, how is it implemented? Should those exist? It's I don't know, and it's not something that has very much impact on the types of games I play, to be honest. I know that's not necessarily an excuse, but it is a reason for why I don't really care that much. But maybe Unicom has a more clarified opinion of them.
Well, I kind of hate them ever since I ran into them in free-to-play MMOs like Voice Injury Online, where you get people would buy them in droves, like in a lot of them, and from some of them they would get items that would just flat out make them better players than everybody else, and hated them then. Uh, they were kind of an annoyance in Counter Strike, I would say, because it brought in the Russian mafia to launder money in the game's economy, literally, and in Team Fortress 2 as well. But it got even more aggravating in things like Battlefront 2, where they just gave you power. Like if you wanted to collect,
Yeah, that is
gold,
a pro. No, so I was only talking like in PUBG, they're only
cosmetics,
skins.
yeah.
It's only cosmetic. So I wasn't. If they influence gameplay in any way, shape, or form, it's shit.
You even
I
had
just
you
yeah.
had to use loot boxes to actually get all the power ups that your classes have. Like you couldn't achieve them through in game through gameplay. You'd get loot boxes, and maybe the loot box will have the next power up that you need to fully utilize your class, or you could buy the thing itself, and maybe it'll have it.
These are monetization tactics, kind of taken from mobile games a
Yep.
lot. To
Yep.
be honest, to be honest, and unfortunately at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah. So if they influence gameplay, it's horrible. If they're only cosmetic,
Who cares?
not that
Well,
horrible. So
it'll still have the problem of if you can take that cosmetic and sell it then at a value outside of the game itself, like for real world gain, then it does tie a bit into the gambling and maybe this thing should be regulated aspect, and that's the angle that some governments are coming from.
yeah, I'm not certain what the EU position is on that.
Well,
But considering recent
the Netherlands are
and
sort of agree that it is a bit too close to gambling to not be regulated.
yeah, also considering the fact that the EU is has a history of penalizing giant monopoly creating corporations, um maybe they will take a harder stance on it. We do not know, but until then, again, like I said earlier, bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, next month is going to be that vote of the copyright, the new copyright legislation for the European Union, which will include Article 13, which will bum screw everybody, and Article 11 that is just made tailor-made to bum screw the press, like the individual press. If the big established ones, those, it's a law made for them. It's one made to sort of go. What's the term?
Yeah, so
deal away, not deal away. Well, just get rid of us. Get the smaller ones.
yeah, marginalized maybe.
Yeah.
So
do away.
if
That was the one. Do away.
okay, so if that happens, expect more of these sort of videos from us, and considerably less footage.
Yep.
Even gameplay footage in some cases.
Probably not even the music it's on the background now.
Yeah, the music definitely not, but at least that.
The flame effect that is in the open. Like anybody can use that. I actually forgot where I got it from. It's an open license Creative Commons thing, but I'm gonna have to prove that it is. I'm gonna have to send paperwork that it is.
On the other hand, you can now, with that cool ass camera of yours, you can just shoot your own fire.
Yeah, but somebody's gonna copyright claim that, and it's gonna be some big media company, and they're gonna screw me. Like I've gotten videos flagged on YouTube that were just me and the green screen, with nothing there, just a wall.
They just didn't like green.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't really know. We're gonna see what happens, and even if that passes, we still don't know how it's gonna affect, because the language is, as per usual, not specific, because the people making the laws have fuck all idea what the fuck they're making laws about.
Yeah, the person, the main lawmaker that put forth the copyright reform was kind of shocked to know that his own bill includes a stipulation that you can no longer record for your own use events like football matches and other sporting type stuff. You're no longer allowed to do that. So if I take a picture of me at the football event, the football match, I take a picture, I post it to YouTube, it's banned now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not loot crates and when you compare, like proportionally, small potatoes compared to this bigger stuff that we have to deal with. Jacques, yeah, we kind of, most of us kind of do, because if we weren't part of the EU, I couldn't be in in Denmark right now studying, to be honest.
Also,
but yeah, I think that
there would be a lot less development in Romania if we were.
Oh yeah, well, the unfortunately the current, but now we're just going off track. The current / recent governing bodies have been doing their best to to go back in time. But let's talk about the future in more positive terms.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, what else do you have planned for the channel? Do you have actually some concept ideas? What would be those types of videos that you will still be producing?
Well, play nows are the easiest to make, so those are probably still going to be there. The top of shows, they're not difficult. I actually already have one sort of written out for next year. It's going to be top 7 YouTubers to watch while the channel has fewer videos. You're on there, in case you're wondering.
Maybe, yay.
And probably the history shows will continue, and in some form. Probably not weekly.
Yeah. As for my side of things, again, depending on what maybe we're gonna have to start hardcore using VPN, maybe, just to upload as the US.
I think Raul actually tries that with our videos just so we won't be flagged as being from Romania and only getting recommended in Romanian Romanian
Yeah, I
channels.
know, I know. Yeah,
But
but we might
it
actually
doesn't
have to
work.
we might actually have to pay money for it,
Yeah.
for the services, I mean. So what I plan to do next year on my channel is I will still be playing indies, but uh much less so than right now. I still want to do the nonsense cast to talk about movies and other stuff that I do and watch, like the non-gaming stuff necessarily. But in terms of gaming, I wanna do I want to do the top upcoming indie games once a month or every couple of months. So I want to do a video for that. I also want to start a series in which I look back at games that are maybe around 10 or so years old, because a lot of those things have started to be remade or have become inspiration for other titles right now, and I think a bunch of them might actually would do well with another look back. Um, yeah, so the indie spotlight will still be there and that sort of stuff, but yeah, expect maybe less pure on indie games and uh, more things about older-ish games that you might have already heard of. But from my perspective,
Demon Slayer wants to know if we're gonna do any tabletop related videos because you've done a few.
I did. So I think he's actually talking. Yeah, I think he's talking about the games you played on stream. We actually have a GameTales about tabletop games. I actually have reviews for a couple of tabletop games and tabletop related things. We might consider maybe once in a while doing a tabletop simulator game
Mm.
video. We might more or less we could do like a side game tales type of thing. It depends
Yeah.
on the types of games we have, but that's something we can put on the on our list. Jacques, Caesar 4. Caesar 4, I don't know about that one. I have played and reviewed Caesar 3, and Lugdunum kicked my ass. So you can see the review on my channel.
Yeah, I actually
I don't know about.
I bought season
Yeah.
4 with the rest of them at the beginning of this year. I'm probably gonna save it for next year if I do another block of shows about city builders.
Oh yeah, no, I have a bunch of city builders planned for next year, and looking forward to especially Foundation, which I'm a backer of. Hey Stig, greetings from Denmark. I went to Oslo last week for a day. I really dug it. Um, there's another interesting tiny title called Flotsam, which is kind of like Waterworld slash City Builder, which it looks better than you think about in terms of Waterworld is concerned. So I don't know if I'm gonna go back, but I do want. Oh yes, and what I will definitely play next year is Pharaoh.
Mm, good
It
choice.
is, it has been decided for a long while. So I will definitely play Pharaoh next year and cover it on my channel.
And I may also recommend Emperor Rise of the Middle Kingdom.
I don't have those one. I do have Children of the Nile though, not Children of the Nile, Children of the Face Nile.
No, yeah. Sorry, it's late. It's late. I'm drifting into Romania. I'm turning into Dracula now.
Yeah, da, of course. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're kind of done. I think this was this was a 2.5 hour
Yeah.
thing,
Oh,
man.
one thing to mention: the Christmas contest didn't happen. We kind of got sidetracked. Raul had some trouble with his PC, but it's gonna be live on the 24th, I think, of December, and it's gonna end on the 2nd of January. So you're still gonna have a lot of time, like over a week, to enter the contest and win like 130 something games. A lot of them. Most of them are coming from our friend Ezreal from Discord. He's the one that keeps trying to get people to buy Earth Defense Force to have people to play it with. So we'll have that.
I think we're gonna have to see if the live stream was actually a success. We might be doing these things from time to time, not every week, because this is a lot of time. This is a big time commitment.
Yeah, there's 3 people have to be like here. Like it's us two and Raul as well, because he has to press the play button.
But let us know if you enjoyed actually seeing us on cameras, because we can definitely record ourselves on camera.
Yeah.
So if this brought something extra to the proceedings, let us know, because we can definitely do that in the future as well.
I may even put a light here next time, so we'll see my face better.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty okay, man. It's pretty cool. I
only have one light bulb left because the big chandelier broke, and I only have one of them.
Sure. But yeah, do we have another one? I think we can take a break next week.
Yeah.
From
we're gonna be drunk, sleeping next week.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break from GameTales next week, so we will be back on the on the 30 sometime later.
Yeah.
Later in the new year, I think.
Yeah, 5th or somewhere around there. We'll see.
We're gonna see about that. Yeah. But yeah, stick with us. So hopefully check out my channel if you're nice, because I do need the watch time.
He needs to watch him. Go watch his videos. Just leave them on the background if you're not interested in the content. Just leave them there and play them. Like make a playlist of all his videos and just put them there. Like let your cat watch them.
Yeah, if you just go on the so this is just like a general tip. If you just go on a channel's page, if you're careful, right there at the quite top to the left of where their videos start, there is a view all button, which is great. That basically just puts all the videos in one playlist, reverse chronological. So blah 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 blah. Yes. So this was our end of year sort of festive thing.
Yep.
Episode 30 of GameTales. I'm gonna have to ask Raul to actually write when he posts this, to actually write GameTales number 30 on that. Thank you for all of the people who have joined in. If you didn't manage to join in this one, hopefully you'll enjoy the recording, and hopefully next time, right at this point in time, we're probably gonna make another one for number 50. We'll see. We're gonna try to keep it kind of festive. We'll see about that. We don't know it. But if you really enjoyed the live stream, we can definitely try to squeeze in a couple more every once in a while, at least.
Yep.
Anything from you, Unicom?
I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Have fun.
I would just like to wish everyone a Merry Winter Solstice, because here in the north, the solstice is much more relevant than you might think. And yeah, just be kind to each other and to yourselves. It's as Patton Oswalt's deceased wife would say, it's chaos, be kind.
Indeed.
See you next time.
I'm gonna look up a picture of my cat, see if I have one, because I haven't shown you any. I promised cat pictures, but I haven't shown you any cat picture in this video, so I'm gonna look up a picture of the cat. I'll probably just angle the camera over the. It's too dark outside to actually show the cats outside. Oh, hold on. I should have done this earlier. See, this is why we edit stuff. Where did I put that cat picture? Come on, you gotta be around here somewhere. No, that's the wrong cat.
Has to be said, you generally do very poorly with file management.
Yep, and here is the kitten. In its cute form before it went old devil. And with that, I bid you adieu. Good night, everybody.